Okay, I'm live. Hello, hello. I'm doing this later than normal, so the sun's kind of hitting me in a funny way. Welcome to this month's Soulcast and Energy Report. My name is Donnell. Super excited to be with you. I know October is going to be a really big month for a lot of people. How was September? How did it affect you? I followed, and listened to my own. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I listen to my own Soulcast. Sometimes I'll go back because I'll forget. And I love to see how the energy plays out. So if you've never joined me, this is an opportunity to align your energetics with your soul and the energy of the month for you based on the astrology and just what comes through. So I channel source energy and I help women to heal forward, to become their future, like their thriving future selves now with love, money, and success. So that's what I do normally, but I've been an oracle and a channel and healer for years. So I am excited to be here with you. And if you are joining me live, say hello. I cannot see the comments right now, but if you are joining, I'd love to know you're here, and I will say hi afterwards once I complete this transmission. So I'm going to get started, and we are already on the third day of October. So this first card I'm going to pull is for the month of October, and then I'm going to go into the specific weeks and tell you what the energy is. If you don't know already, I post this on my YouTube, but I also have it spliced up. So each week you can catch on my Instagram and Facebook the individual weeks and the energy for those. So let's see what is the overall theme for October, the waiting game. Ooh, okay. So let me just kind of, I'm just going to write this down, and then I'm going to feel into what the waiting game. So this card, as you can see, there's roots and there's a tree growing. It's very much a spiritual oriented card. It's a number 2 card. So this is kind of something that you have been in relationship to moving forward. This is a huge month, by the way. This is a month with eclipses. And whenever there's eclipses, it's like a huge wormhole. And so it's almost like, I feel like things get squeezed through the wormhole, through the portal. And so what I want you to think about this month is, what have you been waiting on? What have you been in the works of for quite some time? Because this month may be the very month that it's moved through, like that like you're like, whatever identity work you've been doing, whatever karma you've been letting go of in the past, whatever issues have been unresolved, this is the month that you may see huge completions, culminations, energy shifting, moving from like one identity to the next. And it's big energy. It's not, it's going to require all your spiritual resolve. It's going to require you to have an unrelenting, unwavering vision of what it is that you want to really create. You'll see in this card that, it's almost like this, the time, like, those traditional egg timers. And it's almost like when time's up, like people use it to mark, like if they're playing a game or something, and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to use the timer. And then when the time's up, it's like go time. And so there's very much this feeling to this month of like paying attention to the timing of things. There's a lot of unseen activity happening. And what I mean by that is a lot of psychic activity, a lot of movement energetically that you might not fully be aware is happening, but it's revealed to you over time. So it feels like you have to pay attention this month. And that if you pay attention, you're going to get the signs and the things that you need that are going to propel you forward in this journey so that you can move into this new timeline. What do I mean by a timeline? A timeline is, if you have a vision for the future, let's just say, and you have been working, on seeing that come into your vision, So meditation, maybe there's something that, you think about you want in a year from now, or you've been thinking about for quite some time. It's a timeline. And this is the month where the timeline could just drop in really quickly. And you might be like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. So really big month. There's such a big emphasis, Spirit is saying to me, on relationships, and how relationships are going to unfold is really up to the energetics of what's being shown to you. So they're telling me that for some of you, it's a make it or break it time in specific relationships. It's almost like maybe you've been through so much with somebody already, and this is the month where, like, if it's not strong enough, like, you might find that there's just like, okay, this isn't working. For some of you, it's fortifying your relationships. It's like, it's whatever's happening just strengthens and builds your relationships. But this is a time where you may see some spiritual lessons come to completion within your relationships, because it's almost like all the karma feels like it's being burned away. And that, what I mean by that is all the stuff that was of the past and that you were working on and that you were doing with this person. It's almost like it's time for it to go. It's time for it to be done. It's time for things to move forward. And so that you step into this new timeline. So you'll find this month, and we are going to be in Libra season almost for most of the month. And there's a balancing and harmonizing of relationships with this energy. And there is a kind of seeing things to fruition. There is this feeling of tying up loose ends and a diplomacy with that Libra energy, an ability to maybe communicate or get things moving forward. So that is the energy to start off October. Okay. And that's a big card, the waiting game. There's a lot of things that just came through for me with that. So now I'm going to pick the card that would start the energy of starting. I always start the energy on a Monday. So it's going to be the 2nd. So it'll be the rest of this week. So let me see. So for the week of the 2nd, we have fulfillment of wishes. That's the card for the week, this week of October 2nd. What a fantastic card. It's a 9 card. And so this card is one of my favorite cards actually in this deck. And this is a card of momentum, is what they're telling me. This is a card of being aligned with your heart's vision. And it's almost like you have to have it imprinted, where whatever the vision, the thing is that you want in your heart, whether it's the relationship or money that you've been working on, you see some movement, but it's bigger than that. It's actually like things are coming together in a big way for you. So you have to be clear about what it is that you want. And it's one of those things where a lot of times people don't know what they want. And so this is not a week to kind of be all over the place. Be very specific in what you're calling in and what you need to support you, because this card is saying, how big and wide can you open your arms to receive right now in your life? This is very much a time to receive something. And there's a lot of support. There's a lot of support for you. And it may feel, it's interesting. The energy I get for this is musical chairs. Did you ever play that game when you were a kid? The music's on and then they keep moving chairs out. So somebody has to, find their seat. And there's this feeling of like, you have to know what you want. Otherwise you're going to like miss this, like your seat's going to be pulled. And so it kind of feels like there's a little bit of like, I don't want to say competitive energy, but it's like, kind of like you got to be quick on your feet. You got to be kind of cunning in what you want and what you're willing to do to get to that. to move things forward, to get your wishes met. And I even hear your demands. So this is a week of understanding that if you want your dreams to come true, what actions are you willing to take? How bold are you willing and daring to ask for what it is that you want? This is not a faint of heart or meek card this week. Because, if I pull this card next week, it could mean something completely different. This is a go for what you want. Do not mess around. Like, be paying attention, be very present, because the chair gets pulled, right? So with this card, with the theme of the month, is really saying you start, and I love when months start off like this, but you start with that vision. You start with like the clarity of what it is that you want to call in, and you trust that things are working out in your advantage, because this card, you'll see hopefully very tangible things. It's a card that's very supportive. And I don't know why, but I'm getting this. It's like, notice the threes in your life. So if there's like a sequence of three things that happen, they're saying pay attention to the sequence of threes. So if you're noticing signs, like by the time you see it a third time, really like know that they're trying to get your attention. Your divine support team is like, hey, I'm trying to tell you something. And they're even saying, notice the 3-6-9 sequence. I think that's actually a manifestation sequence. So they're really talking about your ability to make the, kind of bring things into form, make things tangible this week through the portal of your heart. There is a little bit of surrendering energy that I'm feeling. And when I mention that, it's this feeling of get out of the way. So if you were playing musical chairs and you knew that was the game, you're just focused on that. You're not focused on all the other things that you have to do. So it's kind of like there's something that you're working on. Stay attuned to the practical, like take care of the everyday things that make your world work, and leave the bigger pieces to the divine of the grander manifestation that you're working on, of the things, the fulfillment of the wishes. Don't worry so much about the how, because if you get caught up on the how, you're just spinning your wheels and you're just wasting. And they're saying this card is going to be in effect the whole month. So this is just like setting the tone for the month, setting the vision, and asking for what it is that you want, and not being afraid. Your self-worth has to be high. Okay. I don't want you making a wish from a place of, well, maybe should I ask for that? Double it, like go big. This is an energy of really going for what you want and not getting caught up in the how, because the how is going to be taken care of by the divine, and it's going to be taking place all month long. Okay. This is not just going to be in effect this first week, but you're getting all the balls moving, and you'll be seeing some very tangible things. And look out for the threes, like 3 signals, 3 signs, all that kind of stuff. So that is for this first week. Have fun with it. I love that card. It's super, super positive. So let me tell you what is in store for the week of the 9th, which we have a lot of bigger energy happening that week. I'm going to just kind of tell you really quickly. We have Pluto ending its retrograde on the 10th, and then we have the solar eclipse in Libra on the 14th. So we have a bigger week. So let me tell you. So for the week of the 9th, the card is the Sun card. It's the light card in this deck, but it's the Sun card. This is a fabulous card. I love this card. This is a card that reminds me so much of the inner child work that allows us to feel magical and feel playful and excited and joyful. And it's coming off of the week before, where we have fulfillment of wishes. So this is like, she's seeing the light, she's seeing the proof, she's seeing things. And it's like, you're kind of going into that eclipse portal. And so and it's interesting that it's a solar eclipse, and this is the, sun card, the light. And so there's help. You're not in this alone. Like, whatever it is like that you're dealing with, the challenges and obstacles of your reality, you're not alone. And there's movement this week. There's negotiations. There's a back and forth. There's a feeling of like, well, maybe this could be discussed or worked out. So if you're in relationship to someone, doesn't even have to be a person per se, but if you're in a relationship thing where you're trying to work something out, there's some really positive energy for negotiations this week, or getting some clarity or some deeper understanding of what's happening. I keep seeing like kind of like a seesaw, like a back and forth, and trying to harmonize and find like, how can this work out? How can everybody have a little piece of light? How can everybody have some joy and some sunshine energy? How can we come back to that innocence in our heart? How can we see another's point of view? And it's interesting to me because the more innocence and the more playful you are within yourself, the better all of this goes. It's not about being overly serious and going into lack or fear consciousness. This card very much feels like she's done the work. Like, she knows how to come back to that place within herself so that she can be open and to what challenges she's meeting or what life is trying to teach her or show her. And this is, I get this very clear message, like, don't give up, like, don't give in and don't give up. And what I mean by giving in, there's a difference between giving in because you're in fear, or versus finding the best solution for everybody. Like, this is not a card of acquiescing because you feel like somebody's strong arming you, or you feel like the situation, like there's no way out. Like, they're saying there is a way out. Like, you got to trust that, and you got to be still, and you got to wait maybe a little bit for the answer to come. So this is a feeling this week where if you allow for healing, allow for movement, and for some transitional energy, you're going to be met with some very beautiful results. Like, you're going to see the light, maybe even in a darker situation. You might be like, okay, this might be working out in a way that I didn't even anticipate. So that eclipse in Libra is very much oriented towards relationships, right? And Libra is, rules the house of committed relationships, and it is about the diplomacy. So you may find that something that was out of balance comes back into balance. And you have to be willing to trust yourself. Like, this is like, I want to say this one last time. Don't get caught up in people pleasing. Like, trust and hold your center of whatever you're working on. And the reason they say it's your communication is so important this week, the way that you express yourself, and understand that the truth will come and set you free. Like, this is not a time to play the people pleaser, we're really letting go. You have to understand Libra is in the South Node position. We're letting go of all the shadowy, codependent ways that we've been in relationships. This is an exalted energy of like, be the dignified light, shine that light. But it doesn't mean that you give in because you're scared, or like you're afraid to show up and be the person that you're meant to be. Like, that's not this energy. This is like, find the majesty within your being and ask for what you want and go for it. And maybe you'll find the diplomacy in something, but it's not by acquiescing because of people pleasing. This is a clearing out of the ways that in the past you have given into something against your will because you thought you had to. This is a letting go and purging of that energy and stepping into something very, this is a new moon, a new way of being in your relationship spaces. And it wants to usher in more light. So you may have to face the darkness to get to that more light, but it's about understanding who you get to be, North Node Aries within these relationship spaces. And it feels like you may not get to the specific, like a specific outcome per se this week, but you're going to get to a deeper understanding. And there'll be there will be some momentum, like I started saying, and there'll be some kind of getting closer to what it is that you're trying to finesse. But there's no just giving into something because it feels like it's the easier thing to do. Okay. So that is the week of the 9th. Then we go into the week of the 16th. So let's see what the card for the 16th is going to be. So the week of the 16th is the Hermit, Solitude card in this deck. I love this card. You won't know your answers unless you go within. You won't know how you're supposed to proceed next unless you take the time to go within. This is a card of self-mastery. And we have self-mastery when we don't just react to things. When whatever we're being faced or challenged with, we really take the time to think it through. We really understand the repercussions of our actions. So it's not about impulsivity or rashness this week. It's really about slowing down, taking time to go within and to understand what is the next step that is being asked of you. Because you're still in an eclipse portal and things are shifting and changing. And as they're in that kind of this time frame, don't just take things for granted. Don't just expect that things are going to happen a certain way. I really encourage and invite you into the sanctuary of your heart. There's this feeling this week that you need to really go in and meditate and understand what it is that you're moving and letting go of, what you're stepping into. Having that understanding of that timeline that's integrating in, because it's going to happen soon. And so you're in this kind of period of lots of shifting. And it's really interesting. They just showed me a vision of somebody with a blindfold on. And you feel like you can't see, because in the physical world, it's almost as if you haven't been given all the information. Like not everything's been revealed yet. And so you have to trust your intuition. And you have to understand you have everything that you need. You'll have all the information if you go within yourself and you act from a place of love within you and an unrelenting desire for truth. It's really interesting that that's how they said, an unrelenting desire for truth. Like this isn't a time to just take things at face value. It's a time to listen to your body, to see how you feel in relationship to something, to see how am I vibing with all of this? How is this feeling? Because they're saying you're going to be coming to the completion of a cycle. And you have to come to a completion of a cycle if you're in this, in new beginnings, right? And to know what is it? Okay, what's my next thing that I'm doing? Am I reaching out to this person? Am I signing this contract? Am I doing this thing? Like whatever it is that you're working on and you're up to in your life, take the time to go within, take the time to understand, because in this card, there's wisdom. There is a feeling of wisdom that you will have resourced and gotten, and there may be a completion that's happening in this week, in this window of the 16th, where, you know, you may be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm wrapping this thing up. I'm signing the contract. I'm doing the thing. I'm moving. I'm going over here. I'm doing this, you know, whatever it is. But you have to access your wisdom first, because it's almost like you can't just, there's no taking things at face value. I know that's kind of confusing, and I'm sorry that it may seem a little bit kind of auspicious, but you know, there's very much like, go within the wisdom, resource that within your heart, trust that space, trust your soul, trust the messages, trust the messengers, because there's messengers all around you in your reality, supporting you, helping you. It's a very kind of like mystical time, if you will. And if you're paying attention, you're going to have everything you need and more and more. Okay. So let me tell you what the energy is for the week of the 23rd, where we go into Scorpio season starting on the 23rd, and the 28th, we have a lunar eclipse in Taurus, which finishes the eclipse wormhole. So let me tell you for the week of the 23rd. I swear to God, I just did the whole deck and shuffle, and I got the same exact card. Well, what is this telling you? If we get this 2 times in a row, the solitude. And solitude, hermit, does not mean you're going to be by yourself the whole time. What it does mean is that you're coming into another level of mastery during this eclipse, because it covers the 2 weeks of the eclipse season. So you become this next version of yourself that you've been working on. You become the embodiment of something that you've been working on. You shift the timelines. You become almost this masterful kind of, wise person. It reminds me very much of like a Bruce Lee or something in Kung Fu. It's like, or the Matrix, even when Keanu Reeves he like sees the bullet coming and he's like already moving past it. He's already like, oh, I see that before it's even happening. And it goes back to what I was saying the week before, where you're like, felt like in that week before, it's almost like you're blindfolded, but you have everything you need to see, because you're seeing beyond the veil. You're not just seeing what you need to see with your physical eyes. And this week, it's like everything makes sense. Like there's like revelations. It's like, oh, it manifested. It happened. Okay, let's go. It's like, oh my God, I had to go through all of this to become this person, this wise being, so that I can relate to people in a new and different way. I can have different type of relationships. I can go to a different level with my money that I make, or anything that you've been working on. So this feels like a mastery card. It feels like you going back to that first week where you have the fulfillment of wishes. It's like something materializes and comes into form. And it wouldn't have been that if you hadn't dug deep within your soul and asked for what it was that you really wanted. This is not a card that feels like you can just bumble along, and just things just magically kind of happen. This is more of a, wow, like I really had to see this through. And this has been in the works for a long time. Whatever is happening for you during this eclipse portal and this eclipse season, whatever manifestation, comes to be, or whatever's going on for you, this was not just like showed up in your life. This has been something that's been in the works for quite some time. And you're going to have such a deeper understanding of why, and the how is going to surprise you. And, whether it happens the week before, this week, the how is going to surprise you. It's like, oh my God, but there's a completion. It's a 9. You're in 2 weeks of a completion. It's like, oh my God, I finally am done with this thing. It finally makes sense. And I just feel such a sense of relief, like, and joy that it's over and that you can move on and that you made it through this little beautiful eclipse, portal, but more so that you grew so much during this time. This is going to happen differently for everybody because it depends on what you've been working on. But because it's in, Libra, Taurus, there's definitely self-worth, choosing you when it comes to relationships, taking the higher road, understanding that when you do that and you act from your heart, things are going to work out, and whether you think so or not, it's like it works out for everybody involved. There's like this feeling of your worthiness and value is not negotiable. So you always have to ask for what it is that you want. And you're coming to the end of a completion of a cycle. So everything kind of makes sense. And it's like, if you hadn't betted on yourself, if you hadn't worked on yourself, if you hadn't done all the things that you've been doing, then things could have gone differently. But because you believed in yourself, because you knew what was possible, it works out. It works out. And you feel like, oh my God, such a sense of like, okay, I'm on the other side of this. And you start to see the completion and the new timeline drop in. So it's really beautiful, beautiful. And then we just have 2 days left in the month. It's Halloween. It's my favorite. I always love Halloween with my girls. So we just have a couple days that lasts the 30th and 31st. And so I'll pull Passion. Really great cards. So Passion Ignited, you are on fire. You are excited. You are starting a new cycle of energy. You feel spiritually filled up and you're like, I'm so happy and I'm ready to go. Like I moved through this cycle and I completed some things and I dropped karma and I chose myself and I love myself. And I'm so glad I chose myself because I can see the fruition of it. It feels really good. This is a big energy of getting reignited with your passion and feeling like, okay, now I can put some attention and focus on some new things. Because all that work that you did that culminated into whatever it was for you specifically, now you get to move forward and start this new cycle of energy. So you have capacity, you have space. That's what they're telling me for these last couple of days. Like you start to kind of feel a lightness and a joy and a resurrection of energy that you haven't felt in a long time because we've been going through so many retrogrades and so much. The Venus retrograde that, is actually finishing up today, I believe, which is the 3rd of October when I'm doing this report. But just all these retrogrades, things moving forward, things shifting, this, like wherever you started, this eclipse portal and where you're ending, like you're excited about something. You're really excited. So October is going to be a big month and it's a month to choose you. It's an opportunity to really know on the deepest levels what you're worthy of and to go for it and to stay attuned to that vision. If you have to every night, listen to a hypnosis that supports you, wake up every morning really in a co-creation of what is it that I'm choosing into, because there's a lot of energy that wants to support you this month. There's so much support. Last thing I will say, if you are specifically looking for support to move through, a specific thing that's happening in your life, whether it's a challenge or it's your next elevation, reach out to me. I do have some one-on-one spots for coaching, but more importantly, I have my mastermind that really supports you through a deeper, longer period of time that has so much incredible stuff in it. But I help people heal forward. It's really about understanding that you're given, once you set your sights on something, because I want you to always have a vision. Once you have your vision, you got your divine curriculum that's going to come, and it's going to help you to become the version of you that is going to be a magnetic match to that timeline. And so you could do it on your own, but it's going to take you, it could take you a lot of time, because it's actually having to think in all new ways. And so when I support my clients, I support them practically and energetically to move and to understand how to think in new ways. Because that's the thing, is you can read books and kind of do all these things, but it doesn't help you on a day-to-day basis change the way you think. And that's what is required to create a new reality. So if you need some support with it, reach out to me. Let's talk. Let's jump on Zoom and let's figure out if it's a fit. Have a beautiful and incredible October. I'm excited to see you next month and to see what has changed and shifted and what you receive in October. Allow this to be one of the most transformative months of your life.